So this was a little late entry, right? So it's great to be here. From morning, I'm sure you would be listening to a lot of ideas. And one thing which I'm a little uncomfortable about TED is you then don't get to see the audience, right? So I can barely see somebody sitting in the first row. But if you are there, can you just make some noise so that I know? Okay. So that means there are quite some people. So I heard the MC say, my name is Sujith. I'm basically an HR professional, and more than that, I run an NGO called Maatram Foundation, which is about a little over 7 years old. And this is my 4th TED Talk, and I was just wondering for the last couple of days, what should I be speaking on? So I thought, let me link how your passion can go for a cause. A lot of us are passionate about a lot of things, right? And when you're young, you have a hobby which turns out to be a passion. And I always believe people who can follow their passion, people who have their hobby as their full-time profession are considered to be the most luckiest on Mother Earth. So I always have this dream, I always had this dream of standing up on stage and delivering something. As a young kid, I know with this kind of voice, I can never sing, I cannot dance, but I never in my wildest dream did I think that I'll get into public speaking as a full-time career. I still remember the date. It was November 7th of 1999. I wanted to be a public speaker. So my mentor was Dr. C.S. Ramachandran, who was a very famous orthopedic surgeon. A guy who was about 6'5" tall. We call him as a man with a golden voice, and he's called the superstar in the Rotary movement, a guy who can inspire anybody on Mother Earth. So he was my role model, and I walked up to him and I said, look, I want to speak like you. And he said, if you have to speak, you have to read a lot. And I started reading, and there came the opportunity to deliver my first public speech, and this was on November 7th of 1999 in a college called Women's Christian College in Chennai. Okay. And for those of you who are in Chennai, it's one of the best women's college. And I walk in to the auditorium, 1,400 girls, and there were just 2 men in that audience. One was the speaker, and the second guy was a guy who was operating the mic, the mic Anna. And after I started speaking, that guy switched on the mic and he left. So it was me along with 1,400 girls. And you know, the biggest fear on Mother Earth, they say, is the stage fear. The fear of being on stage and speaking to the audience is the biggest fear. And I remember my mentor saying, look, all you have to do is when you're on stage, and if stage fear overrules you, just think that people sitting in front of you are all pumpkins sitting on a chair. So I started visualizing everybody like a pumpkin. It went fine. And my mentor said you have to maintain eye contact, and normally speakers maintain eye contact with people who reciprocate to what the speaker is saying. And here it's not possible, I can't get to see you guys. But on stage in WCC, I looked at few girls who were reciprocating to my jokes. So when I made some stale jokes, they were laughing. So you start looking at those girls, and people who nodded their head vigorously, I started looking at them and started speaking. Suddenly, after 22 minutes, my speech was prepared for 47 minutes. After 22 minutes, I found one girl in the 7th row winking at me. And I thought it was quite natural, right? I mean, somebody was just closing the eyelids. And now I remember my mentor saying, don't get distracted, focus on your speech. And that's your first speech. So that girl was sitting on the 7th row on this side. So I started avoiding her. And you know, the black monkey sitting in your head always tells you, if you tell the monkey basically, concentrate on something, it will tell you don't concentrate. If it actually says, imagine that a black color monkey should not come and stand in front of you and dance, it will exactly do the same. So the more and more I said, don't look at this girl on the 7th row, I was moving towards there, and then this girl decided that she is going to rip me apart. You know how college girls are, right? So they were basically making fun of me at my cost. So what started at 22 minutes, what went on fine till 22 minutes, had an abrupt ending in 27 minutes. I just couldn't handle myself. I walked down. In the evening, I had my coaching meeting with my mentor, and I asked, my mentor asked me, how did this session go? I said, look, everything went fine. Till such time, one pumpkin started winking. And you know what? The lecture fell flat. So it started there. And from what started on November 7th of 1999, I have a habit of counting my number of talks that I go and deliver. Today is lecture number 2279, okay, 2279th lecture. And in all this journey, there have been times when the talk has just fallen flat. There have been times when you joke and nobody will laugh. You literally have to tickle yourself to make people laugh. I have been shooed away from the stage. People have booed you out. But all along, the dream was to be on stage and making an impact. This was my biggest dream of being on stage. I thoroughly enjoyed it. So I joined Infosys in 2001. And before Infosys, I used to work for a company called Pizza Corner India Private Limited. A very interesting company. Now, don't give me that dirty look. I was a HR guy there as well. But in Pizza Corner, you'll have to do literally every job, whether you're an HR or marketing or finance. If it demands that you need to go and do a pizza delivery, you have to deliver pizzas. And today we are about 180,000 employees in Infosys. And I bet nobody in Infosys would have a more dramatic entry than what I had on my day one at Infosys. I actually walked into Infosys for the first time to deliver pizzas. With 4 pizzas on my right hand and 4 pizzas on my left hand, I actually went to deliver pizzas to Infosys, and that's how I got to know there was a company called Infosys Technologies. And I was truly amazed. What struck me about Infosys was air conditioned inside, because delivery boy, in Chennai there are only 3 climates: hot, hotter, and hottest. And today it was so funny that the guy was driving me to this college, right? He's looking at me, sir, sorry sir, it's very hot. And you're telling me to a Chennai guy who's only seeing 3 climates. So when air conditioned in Infosys, I saw beautiful looking boys and girls all dressed up, because my uniform was a red color t-shirt and green color pants. Can you imagine how horrible it is, right? Brown shoes, green socks, and if with a little bit of lipstick, you will actually look like this film hero called Ramarajan. So I was very glad. I mean, Infosys was my dream company. I joined as an HR executive. But 1 year into my job, I started liking training. I saw people were doing passionately training, and I walked up to my boss and I said, look, I think I can do the job, if you can permit me. But then she said, training is not part of HR. It's a very different department altogether. I cannot give you any weightage for you doing training. I said, forget that. I like to do training. And if I can do that, will you allow me to do it? So my boss, in very simple language, he said, I am perfectly fine. You can go ahead and do your training, but that's outside of your goal sheet. I cannot give you any weightage in your appraisal, so on and so forth. I said, perfectly fine. I started doing training. And all along, I used to see my boss getting invites from all these colleges. Engineering colleges will always call her for lectures, for convocation, for annual day. And nobody used to call me. And I used to go and ask my boss, why is it everybody's calling you? Nobody's calling me. And she said, look, you have to earn your position, right? Wait for the opportunity. And I'm not joking. I will just wait for an opportunity. If some college calls me, I'll go and talk. I'll go and deliver a speech. And what slowly started my passion for public speaking, I started getting invites after invites after invites. And I'm not joking. There are times that I've worked continuously for 22 weekends. On all Saturdays and Sundays, going and delivering talks in some school, some college, because I was greatly passionate about it. My friends used to ask me, are you mad? Why would you do this? What do you get out of this whole thing about public speaking? Neither are you charging. There is no professional fee that you're getting. I mean, people always ask me, has your wife divorced you? Because how is she allowing something like this to happen? Won't your son miss you? There are family functions that I've missed. There are school reunions that I've missed. But I couldn't explain in words the thrill that I get on stage. So I used to tell my friends, look, this clapping hands, right? The sound of clapping hands is an addiction. My friend said, you are mad. But then I experienced the largest audience that I've ever spoken to is about 22,000 students at one go, right? Can you imagine 22,000 students? Pin drop silence for a 1-hour talk, and the standing ovation you received after it, that was goosebumps. That's like addiction. So I tried explaining to these guys, look, can you imagine Sachin Tendulkar walking into Wankhede Stadium and about 60,000 people clapping hands? Nothing can equal that particular moment. And I live my dream on stage. My friends just couldn't understand it. They said, boss, you are mad. That's it. Because for us, Saturday and Sunday is all about relaxing. For you, is about going and living out of hotels in Coimbatore and Trichy. And by the way, when I'm doing public speaking, it's not in Singapore, in Switzerland and US. It's always, in some nooks and corner of Tamil Nadu, or maximum you'll go to some different states. But I realized God has a very different plan. He gives you a particular strength. And if that strength can be put to a common cause, I think life's beautiful moments happens around it. So from HR to public speaking to career counseling, the journey was going great till 2013. And in 2013, I was in Madurai in a large career counseling event. I just finished speaking. And after I came down, there was this editor of this daily who walked up to me and he said, there is this girl who's waiting outside, refusing to come in, and she just wants to have a word with you. Can you just spend 2 minutes? And I will go out. I saw a small girl, not more than about 7th or 8th standard. The body structure looked like she was very, very fragile, very thinly built. She was wearing a salwar kameez, which obviously somebody has given it to her, right? It's really not her size, really dirty. And she was holding a notebook by her chest, and in beautiful Tamil she asked me, "Anne vanakonne padichodna or vela kadikkanone adu mari or padip solunga." All she said is, I need to suggest me a course that after I finish this course I should get a job. Nobody has asked me a point blank direct question. So I asked her more about her. I said, what are you doing? She said, I just finished my 12th standard. I thought she must be about 7th, 8th standard. And I asked, who's there in your family? She said, I don't have my mother. My mother is no more. I have 2 siblings, younger ones. And my father is there who's an alcoholic. And I said, who's helping you study? She said, it's me. I work. And I said, what do you work? She said, I work as a domestic maid in 4 houses. It's 2 houses in the morning, 2 houses in the evening, and I take care of my siblings. In Tamil, there is a saying called "Moondru mani kelindal munivan." Okay, only rishis get up at 3 o'clock in the morning. You know what? There are girls in this state who still get up at 3 o'clock for a living. This girl gets up at 3 o'clock, studies till 5 o'clock. 5 to 6, she cooks for her siblings. 6 onward, she goes and work in these 2 houses as a domestic maid. 6 to 8, comes back, takes her siblings to school, and the same routine follows in the evening. She hits bed at 11 o'clock every day. 11 to 3 is all that she sleeps. 12th results was out by then. So I asked her, and that time I didn't start this foundation. Never ever in my wildest dreams that I thought that I'll go and start an NGO. I was a career aspiring person. I want to be one of the fastest growing HR professional in the world. I want to buy a car. I want to buy a house. Swanky lifestyle. This is all that I was dreaming about. But then, as I told you, God has a very, very different plans. When this girl was standing right in front of me, I asked her the next question, how much have you scored in your 12th board exams? And she gave me an answer, which I have to put my head in shame. She said, I've scored 1,156, right? 1,156 out of 1,200. And when I look back, I have to multiply my 12th marks by 2 to get there. And after 1,156, here is a girl who's saying, I want to study. Can you suggest me a course? I gave her my business card. Because you remember, whenever somebody comes and asks you for help, the first thing that we'll do is we'll pull out our wallet and give money. I'm sure each one of you would have done it. That day, I didn't feel like giving her money. And looking back as to what I earned in Infosys, I can definitely support one child's education. But something was telling me that moment of enlightenment, there could be hundreds of girls like this. What are you going to do about it? So I gave her my business card and I told her, I'm going to call you in 1 week. If I'm not going to call you, you're going to call me in 1 week. From Madurai to Salem, I was in a car all alone. The driver was there, Ilayaraja music in the background. And I was, this thought about this girl just refused to go out of my sight. So I was just going through the phone book. And in that phone book, I found a lot of college chairman's number. Because I go to all these colleges and speak free of cost. I suddenly got an idea. How about asking a free seat to one of the colleges? Anyway, go and talk free in all these colleges. And that day I realized, when you ask help for yourself, your voice becomes feeble, your shoulder droops. You can never go and ask somebody, no, you don't ask that way, right? If you ask for 5,000 rupees, you have to borrow some money, your voice will become feeble. But that day I realized, when you ask help for somebody whom you don't know, in Tamil there is a word called Gambiram. There's so much of confidence in your voice. I called up this chairman, I said, can you help me with 1 free seat? And if you give me a free seat, you know what, I will come and train your students free of cost. Even today, there's a lot of these engineering colleges which still believes that if you call an HR guy and train, all your students will get placed. And we also try and use it to our advantage. So, I told these guys, yeah, tell me something about you. You remember the training? Yeah. So I told this college chairman, if you give me a free seat, I will come and train. That guy was very silent. And then he said, no, I was not thinking about it. I was actually thinking I can give you 20 seats. So what I asked was for 1 seat. And what he gave me in return was 20 seats. Now today I don't know, with 20 seats, where am I going to look for 19 other students? I walked up to my good friend RJ Balaji, he's a very, very close friend of mine. And when I told him, Balaji in his typical style, then he said, let's do a radio show. So I've never done a radio show before, but something struck me. See, remember, my dear friends, that there are some ideas when it hits you really hard. And that idea, when it struck me, it said, this is not going to stop with 20 students. It's going to get much, much bigger. So I wrote down in a piece of paper, I named it as Maatram Foundation. I wanted to name it in Tamil. So Maatram is not change. Maatram means transformation, right? It completely transforms somebody. And I wrote down 5 guiding principles with which we run this foundation. Number 1, we said we will take only orphan children as a first preference. If I have only 1 seat, I will give that seat to an orphan child. Number 2 is for the single parent. Mostly in low income families you don't find fathers, because we run task-mark, the government run task-mark, right? And a lot of alcoholic fathers, you will only find mothers in the family. 3, girl children will get the top preference in my foundation. Rule number 4 and 5, we said we will never ever take public donations. So even today you go to Maatram Foundation website, you will not find a bank account number, because the moment I say NGO, there is only 2 things which will hit you hard. You will see some sobbing pictures of poor children, and there will be on sobbing music, how you can educate this child. There will be a sobbing music, and then you will find this account number which will be flashing on your face all the time. We said we need money, but we will not aggressively seek public donation. And the 5th and foremost thing we realized and we wanted to practice is, we said at any cost, we will never ever disclose the identity of our students who are studying with us. What started with this one girl called Malarvili. Malarvili is the name of the student, the first student that we picked up. Today we are 937 students strong. 937 students strong. Across Tamil Nadu, today we educate students in Tamil Nadu, Bangalore, in Karnataka, in Telangana and in Delhi. And the beauty is, in the same institution I have 14 students of my Maatram Foundation students studying here. Now, completely free of cost, by the way. Now look at the storyline. Okay, Maatram Foundation did not come all of a sudden because it was an HR professional's idea. It came through what was my passion on public speaking, right? When you are passionate about something, my dear friends, curate that idea, because it's your idea. People will be there to criticize you all the time. They'll come and tell you why you should do something different. What are you going to get out of it? And when somebody comes and criticizes you, always remember this bird called eagle, the family of eagles. Eagle, hawks, kites have a very unique behavior. These are mighty birds. And when these mighty birds always fly at a particular height, when they come down, there is this bird called crow which goes and attacks these eagles all the time. Now the eagles know that they are so strong that with one whack it can kill about 10 crows at one stretch, but eagles never fight with the crow. So what happens? Crows started chasing the eagle. Eagle will start flying high. The crows will chase to a particular height, and after a particular height the crows cannot soar high. Eagles will soar high up in the sky. And from there, it will look down on the crow and it will say, you stay where you are and I'll stay where I am. Okay? And that's how you deal with criticism. Because when you are passionate about an idea, remember, it's your idea. Only you can live that dream. Only you can live that dream. Speaking in television, being on YouTube, or being on a radio show, and all the stuff happened because of this one dream that you wanted to be there on stage and enjoy every single moment. I can give you hundreds of stories. The reason why TED is all about ideas, right? Now, you really don't need to sit inside a room and think, God, give me that idea. That moment of enlightenment happens around you all the time. I always wonder, how did this apple fell on the scientist and he came with a theory? How did Buddha went and sat under a tree and suddenly he got enlightened? I always used to wonder, why the hell is nothing happening around me? Life is always the same, but then you realize that life's most beautiful moments happen just around you all the time. Let me give you an example. Empathy, for example, is a must-have skill. We produce great engineers. We produce great doctors. We need students who are empathetic. Empathy is something, is one of the core value of a human being. And I know what empathy was all about just about a week back when I encountered this lovely incident. I was driving back home from office, and there is a narrow stretch which connects the IT highway and the ECR road in Chennai. It's a very narrow road. I saw a visually challenged man. Along with them was an 80-plus-year-old old lady, and they were surrounded by a few people. And there was the visually challenged man was talking to this old lady. I thought there was some trouble, so I parked my car and I walked up to listen to what's happening. I asked the visually challenged man, is there something that I can do for you? And he looked at me and he said, sir, you don't need to do anything for me. Can you please help this lady? I said, what happened? No, looks like she's very hungry. She needs some money. If you want to help, please help this lady. I gave her $500 and she was happy to accept it. And she said she has their daughter, granddaughters, everybody living in that place, but nobody is willing to take care of her. So I told the nearby tea shop saying, just take care of her. I'll put her into an old age home, which she politely refused. She says, so I'm comfortable. You just give me money. And she walked away. Now this visually challenged man, I said, can you please come along? I will drop you. Anyway, there's only one way you can go on that road. I will drop you. Get into my car. He was very reluctant. But after some time, he said, fine, I will come along. And as he sat next to me, I started chatting with him. I said, what do you do, sir? First, he said, I'm a musician. I said, great. So where do you perform? He said, no, sir, haven't you seen? I perform in the Signal. The OMR Signal is where I perform. We are 4 of us, all 4 visually challenged, and we sing together. And we work till 5 o'clock. After 5 o'clock, traffic gets a little heavy. And then we share whatever we make by 4 and we get back home. So I said, great. So as we nearing the place, I asked him, sir, if you don't mind, can I ask you, how much did you give that old lady? And he said, sir, I made 75 rupees today and I gave 50 rupees to that old lady. Okay. And I said, how will you manage with 25 rupees? Sir, I'm single. 25 rupees is good enough for tonight. Tomorrow I will make my money. Today that 50 rupees, that lady needed more than me. And he said this in Tamil. And amma vairu romba pasikudhu appdin sollumodhu adula vali therinjudhu sir enakku. He cannot see, right? Pasi mari or kodumiyana vishayam edume kedaiyadhu. And this guy makes 75 rupees. You know, I took my wallet and gave him 2000 rupees and I said, can you please accept it? I tried my best to put it in his hand and he just politely refused. Sir, இறைவன் கொடுத்த குரல் இருக்கு சார், நான் பாடி சம்பாரிச்சுப்பேன் சார், ரொம்ப நன்றி அப்படின்னார். Right? I was like too small in front of this man, and he taught me what empathy is all about. Look, when you have lots to give, you have some, I mean, let's say if I have such t-shirts, about 20, 30 t-shirts, it's not the oldest one which goes for charity. Right? Empathy is really about feeling sorry for the other person. Okay, you put yourself in the other person's shoes. And as young people, I think it's very, very important. As engineers, that you need to be empathetic, that you bring out some brilliant products. Right? So empathy is one of the core value. I just want to close by saying this, my dear friends. I never ever thought that public speaking can save lives. My moment of glory actually happened 7 days back. And this is the answer to all my friends who ask me, what have you gained out of public speaking? I never realized that in Facebook there is something called filtered messages. Right? So people who are not connected to you, when they message you, it goes into something called as a filtered message section. I didn't realize it for a long, long time. That day I opened the filtered message section because my friend said, and the first message came from a girl. And this girl had written in Tamil, which I'll translate it for you in English. It said, Anna, thank you for saving my life. This is my phone number. If you can give me your phone number, I just want to call you and thank you. I mean, this was very, very strange message. And I said, look, I'm going to call this girl. And I called her. And the conversation happened in Tamil. And she said, Anna, I'm studying 3rd year in an arts college in Chennai, in a government arts college in Chennai. I wanted to end my life. I wanted to commit suicide because my father, who believes in astrology, an astrologer has told my father that ever since I was born, I am the unlucky girl in the family, and because of which my family is in poverty. And my father doesn't work, but he abuses me every day. He hits me every day. And I, with all this, hoping that after my college I will get into a job. On what he did a few days back was horrendous. He just pulled out my hall ticket and tore into pieces now that I can't write my exam. So she decided she's going to jump out of River Kuvam. And she went near this Napier bridge. She was about to jump when she saw 2 cops on both sides. And she realized, look, they will save me. And then she also realized, why should I die jumping into this dirty water? Isn't there a better way to die? Then she realized that, look, jumping in front of the train and dying is far easier. And her college is by the railway track. So she decided next day she's going to end her life. That night she wrote a nice letter to her father, mother, everybody, and also saying that I am dying only because of my own responsibility, blah, blah, blah. And she put that letter by the pillow. She took her phone and she was going through some WhatsApp messages and all this. So suddenly there was a 7-minute video which popped up. A 7-minute video. Normally people forward it, right? And they say forward it to 7 people, otherwise you will die. Tomorrow blood will come out of your mouth and all this stuff, right? So one of those videos, and that video was not that kind of a video. That video was 2 stories that I spoke about my Maatram Foundation girls. A story about a 9th standard girl who got married, how she delivered in 10th standard, and how she decided to build her career and now works for a large IT firm currently training in China. That was a story that I spoke about, 2 girls. And this girl just heard the story at that moment. And she realized, look, my story is nowhere comparable to what these two girls have gone through. And if these two girls can live a life with so much of dignity, why should I die? And that day she decided that she will stop making an attempt to even end her life. And she said, thank you so very much. That video really made a difference. And when she called me and said, you saved my life, I was literally about 2 feet above the ground. And can you tell me, if I can go and tell my friends, you know what public speaking can give you? Public speaking can actually save lives. That moment, I realized that God gives you a particular talent, not just for your glory and your fame, not just for your glory and your fame, not just to make money, not just to build a swanky house, buy a great car, but if you can put your strength for a cause, that is where you are a true human being. Thank you so very much. Such a pleasure talking to you. Thank you.